And welcome to Paradise Living with Melissa. I am the digital guru, Joel Wilson, sitting here in the Digital Guru studios in South Carolina, where waking up this morning to 71 degrees, blue skies,
Ooh.
44% humidity. Welcome to September, is all I have to say here. This is Paradise Living. I'm here with Melissa. Melissa, you are down in Florida on the Gulf Coast. How are you doing today?
Hey, welcome to my backyard, you guys. Welcome, welcome. Hey, we were going to film this out on a beautiful canal, but I couldn't get a good enough Wi-Fi connection, and I'm just so excited to welcome my next guest. He's amazing. He's a good friend. He's also my private wealth person. But this is John Rojas, CEO of Tribox Private Wealth. And John, just give our listeners a great big hello.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in and listening. I'm here in my studio. I don't have any nice views, but hopefully later today I'll get out there and enjoy the September weather we're having.
Yeah, yeah. So John is down in West Palm. I am up here in the Cape Coral, Naples area, and it's hot and it's still pretty humid. So we're probably right around the 80s. And I know
We
the
win.
West Palm
For
thing is
sure.
yeah, you guys, you're so cool. It's just so easy. But I was really excited to have John on here because a lot about Paradise Living is how we plan things and what we do. And I know throughout my corporate history, I tried to be as super careful as I could. As a single mom, I tried to throw back at least 20% and really live under my means so I could have a little something and plan a little bit better because I knew that the corporate world was going to be kind of iffy. I knew things were going on and I was just trying to plan. And John has always kind of been in my back pocket, and I've called him and said, what do I do? What do I do? And he's always advised me for years. So um I wanted to talk a little bit about, John, how you kind of got into your business and what kind of drove you there. I think it's great for our listeners to hear a little bit of your history because it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And want you to make sure you share your podcast too, because I've been watching different episodes and it's amazing. You've done such a great job. So,
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I actually grew up just down the street from you in Immokalee, Florida. And for
hmm
people that aren't familiar with Immokalee, back then there wasn't much to do. I mean, plant tomatoes or pick tomatoes, pull plastic, plant steaks. And so my parents got divorced. We moved over to the east coast of Florida, Jupiter, and I went into military shortly after graduating high
hmm
school and served 3 years in the military, combat arms infantry. I was fortunate enough to miss Desert Storm by about 3 months in Somalia by six.
yeah,
But when I
good
got
job there.
back, I went to go see the Veterans Liaison, and I qualified for an internship program with an optical company, but not eyeglasses. The optics we made were for high precision optics. So the Hubble telescope up in space, I
hmm
got about a
Yep.
$500,000 of my work up there that I actually crafted the lenses for.
Oh, that's
And if you
cool.
remember the history of the Hubble, when they launched it, the images were really, really blurry, and that's because they polished the lenses to the wrong blueprints, if you will. So
Oh, wow.
we put eyeglasses on the Hubble, and the rest is history. The image has been super clear. But working there, working 67 hours a week for $7
Yep.
an hour, they
hmm
gave me a 401k plan. And I started reading books on investing and started picking stocks and actually did a pretty good job. Enough that the owners took notice and they said, "Hey, kid, you should become a stockbroker." And I was like, "What's that?" "Oh, you tell people what to buy, like you're doing now, and they
hmm
pay you a commission." I thought that was like the best job in the world. I couldn't even believe it existed. So I took the exam, and 3 years later, I landed in the industry in 1997. I probably cold called a lot of your listeners back then. Probably hung up on
Yeah.
me. I was cold calling a lot, but kept on investing. I like to think that the way that I help clients manage their money and manage their investments and their finances is because I look at it through an investor lens. Like I'm in real estate. I've had small businesses. I've bought and sold businesses. I've acquired practices. And so I think through the lens of a business owner and an investor, which I think helps make me a much better coach for my clients and some of the things that they've had to navigate through
You know
all
what
that.
I think, John? To build on that, what has been so meaningful for me working with you is that you really, yes, you look at it from the lens of an investor or that person that you're working with, but you ask me a lot of questions. You ask me where I need to be and what my situation is. And, that's changed over the years. I made big money in those corporations. I think you were smart enough to know that it could be taken away from you, and that's what you and I have talked an awful lot about. You did a podcast just recently on you work your butt off for so many years and poof, you get there, and them at a much bigger scale than I ever did. But you get there and then all of a sudden you're like, what do I do? What's the meaning of life,
Yeah.
And I
Some of
love
your
that. But
some of your listeners, I know firsthand, that Naples area, I'm there quite a bit, and you get to a point where you're so successful, and the person you became while you're becoming successful now defines you. So you're sitting on millions of dollars, millions of dollars. But when you go to the mall and you see a pair of shoes that you want to buy, you won't buy them unless you have a coupon for them. Because that's just the way that's how you're embedded. That's the way that and the reality is, like, a lot of my clients, when they make it, we have to start having conversations that sound like, hey, it's okay for you to enjoy some of your money. It's okay for you to take some of your money and go do the thing that you would never allow yourself to do. Right. And so that's the
yeah,
cool part about my job
live.
is, your paradise living. There's a point where some people you can't have that conversation with. Like, some people are like, hey, you haven't got there yet. You haven't been disciplined enough. But then there's a whole segment of people that are like, hey, you've made it and you're going to leave millions of dollars. And guess who's going to spend it a lot faster than you ever did? Your children and your grandchildren.
That's a good point. I know
Living
the same
that.
thing. I'm out golfing the other day. I'm like, I really need a new driver. Oh, hell, that's $400. I'm not going to spend that. And I could buy 100 of them if I wanted to, but no, I just don't need it because the other one's only 8 years old and I can still work with it. So I do
Yeah,
have a
so
So
quick
what
I,
I
question.
I
bought,
have a client who bought a boat, and it was like $400,000, and he felt really guilty about it. And I said to him, I said, hey, by the way, just so you know, the interest that you're going to receive on the investments I have for you over the next 6 months are going to cover the boat and then some. So enjoy it on the interest you're receiving. And it helped him feel better about the purchase, right? Because
yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
oh, I'm taking all that money, but the reality is it's going to be replenished in 6 months in that example.
Well,
Well,
one
that's what
little
happened with
footnote
me.
is
I
that
mean,
Google stock went up 6% the other day, so I did buy the driver. So,
Mm.
yeah,
but it had to
see,
do something. I
and
do have a
More
quick
importantly,
question for
what kind
you,
of driver did you buy?
Wilson. I'm a
Nice.
Wilson guy anyway, of course. I have a quick question for you because
yeah,
I'm going
well,
to be doing
I
a
bought
series.
him
Go ahead.
I bought him a Trump cover for one of his drivers, and I got him the coolest new golf shirt. I actually have one that matches when we do some of these fundraisers and stuff, and it's really really cool. But the Trump one is mega and make America or make golf great again or something. I should show it. On next podcast I'll show it. It's really cool. But
Nice.
yeah,
I do have a quick
so
question. I have a quick question for you. I know that I'm going to be doing probably a 5 or 6 part podcast coming up, and you said that you started in the late 90s, and everything's going to be
1997.
revolving around 2008. And I'm going to be having a
Mhm.
lot of people from different portions of life and how that affected you. Obviously, 2008 was not a fun time, I'm guessing.
Right, right.
And
So,
yeah,
part of by the time 2008 came around, I was violating some of my own principles that I would end up defining how I manage my own money and how I manage client money from 2008 moving forward. So 2008, I was living on a golf course in Tequesta. I was on hole number 12, about 150 yards from the pin, going out every single night and practicing. I had an expensive golf membership. Markets were really good. We were coming off October 2007 highs. I was
yep.
making more money than I could ever imagine. And things started unraveling. And I ended up short selling the house, getting divorced, and then eventually moving into a 2-2 on the water. I think it was like $888 a month for my total principal and interest and everything payment, and starting to really put money back into the coffers because of the principles I violated. And so Tribox, my company, it stands for cash protection and investment, right? That's what Tribox stands for. And the reason why I ended up naming it Tribox is because when you think about 2008, that's a really good example, one that I wasn't even thinking to bring up. 2008 exposed a lot of people.
Yes.
And what I
Hmm.
find in the
Yep.
28 years of what I've been doing is that so many of us, we chase investment returns, we chase performance, and we say, hey, when we get that big payoff, then we will come back and we will stabilize our foundation because we know we're kind of taking too much risk. But then what ends up happening when you violate those principles, you lose your house, you lose your wife, you lose your kids,
Hmm.
you get divorced, you lose the business, and then you're starting from a much lower level psychologically, emotionally. You're damaged, you're beat up, and then you're trying to recover from that. So with Tribox, we believe that every person, I believe, I instill in my clients that we should have 6 months to a year's worth of cash on hand that we can make decisions from, earning 4% interest right now. We should have our protection in place, right? So if anything happens to us, the money's going to pass as seamless as possible. If we're not, if we're incapacitated, people can step in and do the things that we need to do. And from that solid foundation, we then go out and we chase investments, knowing that the foundation of our house is in order. And no matter what
Hmm.
happens, it cannot be penetrated. We're not going to go back. It's almost like when I repelled in the military. You always had someone on belay, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because if things went south, you wanted them to hold you up in that position while you got repositioned. I can tell you, when you have a year to 2 years worth of cash, not a line of
Hmm.
credit, not some debt you could tap into, but cash sitting there, you're a much different person. You're a lot more confident. Your
Yeah.
decision making, you've got a lot more
A
clarity.
little
You can
bit of
take advantage of
stress.
down
A little bit
markets.
of stress. Yeah.
You've got less stress. So now when the market comes down, which I think it's going to at some point, it's got to because we're pretty overextended. Now my clients can take all that cash that we've been sitting on and we can take half of it and we can take advantage of the markets. So excellent point. Too many people overextend themselves and just get themselves in trouble. And if you build it right, cash protection investment, you have that foundation in place. Instead of things unraveling for you, you actually have the opportunity to take advantage of, as they say, blood on the streets, right? When there's blood on the street, you should be buying, but a lot of times people can't because they don't have the capital and they don't have their
Yeah.
house in order to be able to do so.
It's
A lot
just
of times when there's
quality
blood,
planning.
on the streets, it's their blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing I can tell you about that is that I'll just give you a recent example. Okay, I've got a client who lives in Naples. She moved from Tequesta to Naples to be closer to her daughter, and her daughter passed away of cancer.
Oof.
And that's the worst thing you'd ever want is to lose a child, right? And her daughter left her IRAs, and it was two SEP IRAs. It was one SEP IRA that went to a large institution that I'm not going to name. They talked her into taking half of it and putting it into a managed account. Not a problem. I have a lot of managed accounts. But when they did that, they did not carry over the beneficiaries that were on file for that account. So
Oh,
now we have an account that has beneficiaries on it, an account that doesn't. Now she passes away. The one that has beneficiaries on it, it passes to the mom, no problem. She's going to be able to continue on for 10 years because it's an IRA. But the other one, because it didn't have any beneficiaries, it has to go through probate. And
Oh,
that's a process. And then she's got to take the money out. The mom's going to have to take the money out within the first 5 years and close it completely out instead of being able to take it out over 10 years. So that's a $700,000. That's a $260,000 tax hit that she's
hmm,
going to take
tax.
because no one took the time to actually go through the protection piece of her equation. I didn't work with the daughter, she worked with someone else, but no one took the time to actually make sure that the estate planning and stuff was up to date. I can tell you,
Yeah.
I was in Palm Beach this is many years ago, but I'm sitting with this lady who I became her broker because her broker left and I got inherited the account. And she opens the door and she's like, "You're young." And I said, "But I'm good." She's like, "We'll see about that. Have a seat." So we started going through her estate planning documents, and I said, "How close are you to your stepchildren?" And she goes, "We haven't talked since the funeral." And I said, "That's interesting because they're the successor trustees of your estate."
Wow. Oh my
And
gosh.
that led to her not being able to sleep until I had an attorney go to the house ASAP to redraft those
Hmm.
documents. The husband had set it all up. He had passed away. She had never bothered to check, and that's a situation that she was going through. And so I uncover stories like this. I can tell, I mean, I could write a book on how many stories I uncover where you think that you've got everything situated, and you'll meet a guy like me and I'll say, hey, let's just humor me. Let's just review the document. I want to see it
Hmm.
with my own eyes. And you go, yeah, no, don't worry about it. It's good. It's good. I appreciate it. It's good. It's good. It's good. And then later on, you find out it's not good. So
Hmm.
no matter what you do, if there's one thing that I highly recommend that you do, is that you take all of your documents, how you have your accounts titled, the beneficiaries, you actually lay eyes on it, get a copy, updated copy so you can put into your
Hmm.
safety deposit box and make sure everything is exactly how you intended it to be as of right now, not as of what you remember. There was a Supreme Court case where a husband married for 32 years to his wife. Wife passes away. She's a retired school teacher. That retirement account goes to her sister because went all the way to the Supreme Court. The wife never changed the beneficiary form. When she started working there, she was single, left the money to her sister, got married, fast forward 32 years, never updated it. Supreme Court said she had 32 years to update it if that was her intention to leave it to her husband.
Mm. Yep. I mean, that's what happens. I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons why, paradise living is really all about making sure we have stuff right, making sure we do the right thing, whether it's building a house, whether it's decorating the house, protecting your wealth, whatever it is. I mean, I know I was a single mom. I came to you and said, look, this is what I got. And I was lucky enough that you kept me around, and helped me because
Yeah, and one of the things
I
that
was
And another thing too
good.
is you've got a lot of people moving to Paradise, Naples, and they're moving in from different areas. It seems like if you come to the East Coast of Florida, you're from Jersey, New York, somewhere on the
Hmm.
Northeast.
Yep.
If you go to the
Yep.
West Coast of Naples, you're Midwest, you're somewhere in the Midwest, right? But a lot of times, what people don't think about is they move here to Paradise and everything's wonderful, but they never update their estate planning documents.
Yeah.
They have a will and they have their estate planning that's from a different state. Now, something happens, you're
Hmm.
going to be dealing with dual probate. You're going to have to deal with
And what's the
that
first thing that
state.
has to happen? The first thing that has to happen is you have to homestead here. So of course you have to establish that this state is your home. So to your
Yep.
point, you got to change stuff around. You got to update it. Great
So,
point.
so
Yeah.
once Florida becomes your home state, all those documents need to change. You need to get an updated estate planning
Yeah.
document. You need a new trust, a new will, new power of attorney, new healthcare surrogate, new everything. And the reality is,
Hmm.
if you haven't updated your estate planning in 5 years, it's pretty much out to date. It's out of date anyway, and you should update it.
Yeah. Cool. Cool
I think
stuff.
One other thing too on housing, a lot of people, they have this old thinking mentality. It would work back in the old days. Hey, I'm getting a little bit older. I'm going to put my kids on joint account with me on my bank accounts because then if something happens to me, they can write checks. Well, that's a big no-no for a lot of different reasons. Number one, if I have an account with my mom, if she puts me on her account joint, right? And I happen to leave here and hit little Johnny on the skateboard and get sued, the judge is going to say, "Hey, what about this joint account you have over here? That's half your money. It's part of this lawsuit now."
hmm
Right? So it can be tied in, number one. Second part is let's say that it's a large account, it's got a few $1 million in there and it's a stock portfolio. If it goes in my name joint when my mom passes away, I'm not going to get a step up in basis for my portion of that account. And that's a big, big tax, like a tax planning mistake that people make because if my mom has a portfolio of 100,000, it grows to 1 million and it's taxable account, and then I inherited that account, I pay no taxes on that $1 million. To me,
That's what
IRS
the
treats
step up
it
refers to, right?
the
Yeah.
IRS treats it like my basis is the $1 million, what it was worth when she passed away. But if I become joint owner of that, I lose half the basis because now I'm considered like I owned it. And if I
Hmm.
sell it, I'm
Yeah.
going to have short term or long. I'm going to have capital gains depending on what the situation is. So the better
So
way
what
is
do
to put a power of attorney on there at the bank. You put a power of
you?
attorney on the bank, and that allows if something happens to my mom, I can step in and act on her
Hmm.
behalf, but I actually don't own the account. It's not in my name. It's still in her
Right.
name, but
Right,
I'm
right.
legally able to help her. So I
What do you
see
know
him.
about
Mhm.
life estates and like ladybird deeds? Somebody owns a house and they put it in a ladybird deed that it goes directly to them. You don't go through probate, everything's good. um does that step up kind of work the same way because you're kind of inheriting it?
Yeah, the step up works the same way in the Ladybird where it's my house. I put a Ladybird. I pass away. I'm going to leave it to my wife. Let's say our house is in joint name, but let's say it wasn't, right? And it was in single
Yeah,
name. I passed away and put a Ladybird. It would go to her, avoid probate. She would get a step up in it. There is some, you'd want to talk to an attorney about that estate planning wise, because there are some other little nuances that I can't really speak of because it's beyond my scope of what I do. But
sure.
yeah, you do get the step up in the very basic form of I have a house, I put the ladybird. When I pass away, I want to leave it to my son, my daughter, my wife, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
So
most important thing too is just to think through that. So if you get your brokerage account statement and it's a taxable account and it doesn't say TOD on it, transfer on death, it means you don't have a beneficiary form on file for that account. If you get your bank statement and you don't have a POD showing, if it doesn't say like
mhm,
John Rojas
paid
POD,
on death. Hmm.
it means you don't have a paid on death agreement on there. This is a very easy way to avoid those assets going to probate in the state of Florida
Yep.
because they'll pass through the beneficiary form. Now, there are some situations where it would make sense not to do a TOD or a POD, but that's where you need to talk to, I'm not your certified financial planner. Well, I am yours, Melissa,
Good
but
thing, huh? I'm
yours,
not
the
stupid.
audience. So your situation, you're going to want to have it reviewed and seek professional advice. So I'm not saying this is blanket advice for everyone, but I'm saying these
Right.
are things that you want to watch out for. These are things that you want to consider when you're doing your planning as we talked about the tri-box, the cash to protection piece. You want to make sure that you're thinking about these things and addressing them and understanding you've got a solid plan for them.
I told you, Joel, I could listen to this man speak forever. I told you that. I mean, I could ask him a boatload of questions, lead you into all kinds of discussions, but it's just a joy to have you around.
Well,
We
one
want to
one
talk
thing
a
I
little bit about your, what'd you
mhm.
say?
One thing I do want to cover right now, the market's pretty high, and we're starting to see a little bit of kind of top heaviness. If if you've had the good fortune of holding some really good stocks for a long time and you've got some really good gains in your portfolio, now is a good time to go through and do an X-ray, do an exam of all your holdings and your taxable accounts.
Now
If
everybody's
you've got
going like this one.
mutual,
Okay, what we got?
yeah, if you've got
I
mutual
told
funds
you,
in the
Joel, you
taxable
got to get a
account,
hold of him. He's amazing.
here's the deal. If you've got mutual funds in the taxable account, this year they're probably going to distribute, they're probably moving money around, right? Because we've gotten, and you're not going to sell that mutual fund, but that mutual fund is going to sell within the fund and they're going to create a capital gains tax for you that might trigger a higher tax bracket for you. If you're 65 and older and you've got to worry about Maggie limits for IRMA surcharges, that might trigger that window. I don't know how much room you have there. So you really want to take a look at your unrealized profit and loss on your taxable accounts, and you want to do it by tax lot, not by total holdings. You want to see if you've purchased a stock 4 different times, you want to see the date, the purchase price, and how much gain or loss you have. Because what you might be able to do is you might be able to do some tax loss harvesting where you free up some money from losses that you can realize. That's going to help offset gains that you might have later
Mm,
in the future because you can
makes
carry them
sense.
forward. You don't have to use them. So if there's an opportunity for you to take advantage of realizing losses so that you can have that bucket to offset taxes from maybe mutual fund distributions and or wanting to sell stock in a different year, now's the time you really want to take a look at those.
See, this is the reason that I love it. Make golf great again. Oh, that's great. This is the reason
Look
that
at
John,
that
we have
thing.
you
I
on
told you I ordered it.
because I'm sure there's a ton of people out there who go, you know what? I've watched Wall Street before and I've read some of these books, and I can do all this myself. And why would I need to talk to you about investing? And just in the last 25 minutes, listening to you talk, there's a lot of things that you don't know until you don't know that could be very detrimental down the road if you pass, if you don't are in this are creating that foundation like you had said. And that's why people should be talking to you if they're going to if they're serious about this.
Yeah, yeah, I see a lot of articles these days, saying, hey, don't pay an advisor 1% a year. Here's how much it's going to cost you over a 10 or 20-year period if you just bought an index. I have a situation with a client that was at a big brokerage firm, discount brokerage firm. We moved the money around and put it in her name. She calls me up and she said, I just got a phone call from them. They said what you did is costing me $150,000 worth of capital gains and I'm going to have to pay taxes on it. And I said, don't relax. Let's call them up together. So we call them up together and I said, here's what you told my client. Yes, that's correct. Okay, tell me what the date of purchase was on all those holdings that you're mentioning. And so they come back and they told me the purchase date. And I said, what happened to the step up? Because the husband passed away. The purchase date should be the day that he passed away. It should be stepped up to the date of death valuation. And they go, hold on one
Mhm.
second. They come back 5 minutes later. We're going to get that fixed for you, sir. Well, thank you very much.
Oh,
But
Lord have mercy. Oh,
here's the thing. Had my client not called me, right? Or has she done it on her own, just going over and just stopping in at her local office, right? That process still would have taken place, but it would cost her over $120,000 of capital gains, to your
Wow.
point, right? And so, like I said, I can tell you horror stories after horror stories about things that have happened. But let me tell you a great story. I had a client come in. He he worked at Hartford and he wanted to eventually come down to South Florida. He wanted to come down here, wanted to semi-retire, buy a house so his kids and his grandkids could enjoy. We went through his cash portion of Tribox. We went through the cash, we went through protection. And just by making a little bit of shift of what he was doing with his cash flow, he was able to qualify for a second home in South Florida, buy it within 3 months, and he's been now about 16 years enjoying that house down here in Lake Worth with his family and his grandkids and his kids and his grandkids. And so, because of that shift that we made 17 years ago, instead of waiting to retirement, he was able to do it 17 years ago and enjoy all of those memories down here in South Florida.
that's amazing. Yeah. Got to make you feel good in what you do for a living, John.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
love
it's
it. I
just
mean,
awesome.
the money part's easy. What I enjoy doing the most is asking a lot of questions and creating those pivots, right? Helping you understand, like, hey, here's what I thought. Joel, you said it beautifully. Here's what I thought, but I didn't know until I didn't know. And now that I do know, your perspective's always changed. Joel's probably always going to do tax loss harvesting now every single year as we going through his holdings. Let's
Exactly. It's
see, I can get rid of
exactly
that and
how it's
get rid
going to
of
be. Hey,
that.
won't you tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you?
Oh, okay. So let me share. So here's my YouTube channel,
Hmm.
and it's Tribox Private Wealth, and I drop, you know, a, one every Monday I drop a long form, and then Wednesday, Fridays I do a short. You can go to Tribox Private Wealth on search on YouTube, and then you can go to triboxprivatewealth.com. That's my That's my homepage. But if you've got a question or anything, you can email me too at john at triboxpw.com. That's triboxpw.com. And I learned a long time ago there's no such thing as a dumb question. And so I always enjoy talking to people. And, I usually have my coffee here and I'm on calls just talking and enjoying just hearing what everyone else is doing out there and how I can possibly
I
help and shed some light.
I learn something from you every time I talk to you. Every time. It's awesome.
And Melissa, how
Yeah.
can they get in touch with you?
Hey, Joel, thank you so much. The magnificent digital guru. You can get a hold of me out on YouTube. You can look at Melissa Sells Paradise. We also post all of these same videos while we're sitting at Voices from the Balcony, which is our radio station. You'll see me every 8 to 9. John will be focused on there. And John we'll go ahead and get this wrapped up and make sure we can send this over to you, and you can give it a point to. And 614-787-8161. You can send me a text and I'll help you guys any way I can. If you're interested in John's contact information, I'll shoot it over to you. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, this has been a great episode. I love you. John, we're going to have you back again because
Sure.
Absolutely.
we were talking off the air before you got on. You're going to have to be like a monthly guest on us because you've
Absolutely.
got so many
Yeah.
stories to tell and such a wealth of knowledge that, the listeners want to hear.
Listen,
Yeah.
there was a law that passed a few years ago called the Secure Act 2, and it really changed the game for your retirement plans. And the unfortunate part about it is most Americans don't even know what changed and how the negative effects it has on their planning. And that's a whole different 45-minute conversation we can have on what you need to do now versus
We're
what
going to do that.
you
We're
used to do.
definitely
We
going to do
will.
that. And one of these times you need to bring your son Johnny on too. He's going to be phenomenal. I
Yeah,
love talking with him.
he's over there in the other room. Yes.
All right, cool.
We're going to wrap this show up. This is Joel Wilson, and I will see you at the next T Box.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.